Everybody logged in here? All right. How's everyone today? I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about the Montessori Marketing Method, which is something that Matt Hillis put together back when we started Nido Marketing. And Camilla is going to go through sort of a high-level condensed version of the course that we have available on Montessori Thrive. So I'll just hand it over to you, Camille, and Camilla, I'm calling you my own name, Camilla, and gosh, if we get confused, I can imagine.
Yeah, I get confused a lot.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead and we'll get started.
Thanks, Camille. Thank you all for coming here and joining us for this hour. We really want to just take this 1 hour a week to help Montessori leaders as much as possible. Tackling the topic of the Montessori method in 1 hour is quite ambitious. Matt Hillis has done some amazing work in the marketing space in Montessori specifically. I highly recommend reviewing his course, which is available on Montessori Thrive if you haven't already, because it really goes into such deep detail. Because understanding marketing is one thing, but understanding it in the Montessori space is completely different. And he's been able to do both. And I mean, his success at his schools in California have proven that it works. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've put together a presentation to kind of guide us. We'll try to get through this in an hour. All right. All right, here we are. Let me go ahead and present. Having a slow internet day. All right, here we go. All right, so I just want to say this information, the thought leader behind this is Matt Hillis. He is a true expert and we're lucky to have him as our co-founder here at Nido Marketing. I'm going to go ahead and dive into our agenda for this. So I haven't included every single subject that he covers in the Montessori Marketing Method, but I've tried to condense as much as I can into the 1 hour session. So I'm going to start off with, the Montessori admissions funnel, diving into the family avatar and life cycle of the Montessori family. We're going to talk about the ideal websites for Montessori as well, how you can get found online. We're going to do a little skimming over Google ads and Facebook ads because that's an important part of digital marketing, reputation management, and then we're going to open it up to questions because you have here Camille, who is our executive director and an incredible marketer when it comes to the Montessori space as well. All right, so an introduction for those of you who don't know us, I see a lot of familiar faces, but Nido Marketing is a digital marketing agency specifically for the Montessori space. It was founded by Kasim Aslam and Matt Hillis, who is the creator of this course. And we help specifically Montessori schools with marketing. So let's go ahead and dive into the first topic. And this is also the opening to his course, which is the Montessori admissions funnel. Now, I'm sure as a school leader, you're all very, very familiar with admissions and admissions processes, and every school kind of functions differently. But marketers love visuals and they love putting things into graphics and trying to understand and segment how things work. So here you have the Montessori admissions funnel and how it works. And really what it's trying to solve is helping us understand how our consumer works throughout the entire admissions and application process. It helps us answer questions. It helps us kind of break down and inspect every step so that we can better serve the needs of our families while they are going through this process. So the first stage obviously is awareness. We talk about Montessori awareness a lot here. We've had conversations about it in the past. But from your perspective, it's important to be aware of the needs of the Montessori family or the family that wants to be a Montessori family. This is also the most nebulous stage of the entire admissions process because parents are starting to become aware of the options for their children and their family first when it comes to schooling or childcare or whatever they need. This is the part where, they start hearing from family, oh, this is a great learning process for kids. This is a great option. They start learning about different daycare models or schooling models. They may be checking out blogs, or they may recall things that they saw years ago. But they're starting to become aware that this is a need for them. They're going to need to find a place to put their child. They're going to need to find something that works for them. And this is your opportunity to really become a thought leader to the parents, because they're just becoming aware of all of these options that they have. And you can really be the voice of reason here for them. They're at a point where they're starting to understand that they have such a precious thing ahead of them. They're going to have to trust somebody with their child. So it's important for you to create some form of trust in this stage of awareness. Kind of guide them along, because any new parent is excited but also nervous. Next, I think I skipped to the very end. Oh my goodness.
That's really condensed, Camilla.
That was very condensed, much more condensed. I'm sorry about that. All right, we're not that far along yet. Okay. So after awareness, we have interest, as soon as this opens up properly. Right. Oh, why is it skipping so much? No, I think I did it properly. My apologies, technical difficulties. All right, we have interest next. This is when they start realizing, okay, we really have to get this going now. They're starting to examine all their options. They're starting to do research. They're Googling different schools in their area. They're asking other parents. They're maybe reading more parenting blogs kind of with intention now. And this is a great opportunity for you to start educating parents in Montessori. During this interest stage is when you can offer them information that's valuable to them. This is also where in marketing, we like to call them cocktail party questions, because they're at the stage where, they want to ask questions, but they're not ready to necessarily make any sort of commitment just yet. So they're asking those questions, when you go to a cocktail party and you're trying to start conversation. So you ask somebody, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, you kind of sparking conversations left and right. They're going to start asking those questions as well. Some of those questions might take you off guard. It might be really long-winded questions like, what is Montessori? What does it mean? It's really important for you at this stage to just kind of have a set of answers ready for parents, have information packets ready to go, have program information and content ready to go for them, and in a manner that is digestible to somebody who may not be aware about Montessori yet. You want to be relatable to them, approachable during this stage, and accessible to them as well, because you don't want to necessarily, dive too deeply and require too much of them just yet. You just want to acknowledge their interest and say, you know what, let me show you what we have. And this is an exciting stage as well. It's also a stage for you to start putting your feelers out, which brings me to the next slide, which is consideration. So this is a little bit past interest stage. So, any parents who just have already realized, Montessori is not for us, they're going to be pretty much out the door at the interest stage. They'll read about it. They'll learn about the classroom models, how your school is set up. And if they aren't really sold on it, you'll probably lose them before the consideration stage. This consideration stage is a great place to be, though, because it's kind of the place where you can start asking a little bit more of the parents who are interested in admissions at your school. This is when they're really, really diving deep into researching options within their chosen model. So at this point, they know, traditional daycare, I don't really think that's for me. I'm really intrigued in Montessori specifically. And now they may have just narrowed it down to just Montessori schools in the area. So you really already got them on the Montessori concept. We put lead magnets here because this is a great opportunity for you to start offering them information that is of value to them, that is very specific. They're really going to be throwing themselves into the researching a lot more. They're really going to be asking more complex questions. They may be asking more about tuition at this point or considering doing that. So this is a great stage to be at in the Montessori admissions funnel. All right. Next is going to be intent. So now at this point, they became aware, they're interested. Now they're considering, now they're intending to really go out there and possibly make a decision. What they're going to do now is they're maybe going to ask people, they're going to ask for social proof. They want to see look around for testimonials. They want to see people who have experienced your school already. And they want to maybe make contact. They maybe want to schedule a tour at this point. They want to see face-to-face what it's like at your school. They've done their research. They think this might be a real possibility for us. We want to go out there, meet the guide, meet the head of school, meet what it's like. So this is going to be the opportunity to do that as your intent stage. This is kind of giving them the proper tour. Next is the evaluation stage. Now this is, they're going to be considering, they're going to obviously come, they've already scheduled the tour during intent. Now they're at your school, they're evaluating. This is a time where you could start nurturing the prospects. You've had the time to meet with them face-to-face. You've had the time to answer their questions face-to-face. And this is the part as well where they are going to possibly sign the papers for the admissions process. They're going to send in an application if it's the right fit. And of course, that leads us straight into enrollment, which is the ultimate goal of the Montessori marketing method in general. The enrollment process is kind of crucial because this is their first big commitments to your school. You want to be aware of the ways that you're going to manage the parents' expectations. It's important to have a very clear and a very clear and concise enrollment process. Communicate with them, make it as seamless as possible. At this point, they've already made the decision to enroll at your school, to live your mission. So you want to make sure that the communication is as clear and open as possible during this process. Many of you already know this, but it's great to have it broken down. And this way, whenever you're getting tours scheduled or you're getting questions via email, you can kind of pinpoint where they're at in this funnel. And then you know what comes next, and you know what you need to do to nurture them into the next step of the funnel. Some parents already come in straight into the consideration stage. Like they already heard from their best friend ages ago before they had a kid that this was the school to go to. And so they already know that, okay, this is what I want. So you're going to have parents who enter at different stages, but it's great to know where they're at because of course it allows you to lead them into the next stage very seamlessly. So once you have a good understanding of that, it's great to also take a look at the Montessori family life cycle. Because once they're enrolled into your school, it's great to have kind of a charted out vision of what their time with you is going to look like. There's a lot of strategies you can take here as well. I highly, highly recommend this particular section of the Montessori method. If you don't want to take the whole course, I believe the whole course is somewhere around 3 or 4 hours long, but this particular session is really important because Matt really details every little red flag that you can look for at every stage. I'm just going to try to kind of sum up some of the expertise that he shared. So obviously, we talked about a little bit of this in the admissions funnels already, but the exploration and commitment phases are part of the admissions funnel. Some red flags to look for during this stage, and this is stuff that, of course, is based off of Matt's expertise of being in school leadership for many years. Parents who don't open their emails or read the content that you share with them. Parents who aren't able to complete basic tasks during their early commitment process, who maybe aren't able to come to school on time, aren't able to show up to events. Those are the parents that you might want to ping or red flag when it comes to the later stages of engagement and retention, because those are the parents who you may need to follow up with them, you may need to check in with them. um, they may not be living your full mission, and they may not be the ones who complete the full family cycle. So you want to make sure that you put those feelers out there. During the engagement stage, so this is kind of after they've already made the commitment, it's important um, because engagement in a school is a huge selling point. There are families who may decide to go, oh, I want to hire a child minder and just have my child at home for those early years before they go into public schooling. I think it's worth it. What they're not actually getting in that model, though, is they're not getting the same amount of engagement necessarily as they would in a structured program. So this is a huge selling point for you and your school. It's important for you to have your guides engage with your parents. What Matt recommended in the course is having at least one point of contact per month, whether that's a form that you can fill in progress that your child is making that you're proud of, things like that, that really keep the parent engaged. And knowing what's going on in the classroom consistently throughout the year is a huge way to kind of lead them into that next family cycle, next up of the family cycle, which is retention. Because a parent who's really seeing the value of schooling in the structured model of Montessori is more likely to stay in it for the long run. They feel engaged. They feel that they're actually seeing the value behind the school. They're hearing firsthand from the teacher, wow, you can tell that your child is becoming so much more independent. This is what I'm seeing in the classroom. You can touch base about what you're seeing at home, and the parent sees the value, and they're going to stay on longer. It's not just like hiring, any daycare or a nanny. They're actually seeing that value. And that's going to help you with retention. And retention ultimately comes down to not only engagement, but parent education. This is a huge focus in the Montessori community. Normally this comes in during times of transition. So you might lose some kids that kindergarten year. So it's really important to reinforce the importance of the 3-year cycle, the importance of that last year. The same thing happens when it comes to elementary or middle school, or if you have adolescent programs as well. So make sure to check in with parents. Try to make any kind of parenting events or requirements. That's really going to help with retention. So I highly recommend doing those things. Next is advocacy. Those parents who are living your mission, they're going to become a great marketing tool. I know that seems a little, we're not trying to say that your families are tools for you to use, but use their word of mouth. Have a referral program set up at your school. Make sure you send them opportunities to leave a positive review. These things are so important. As we know, online reviews aren't going anywhere. In fact, we know that parents are checking them, whether it's on Google, whether it's on Facebook. Parents are checking reviews and testimonials. So have a format for that, because advocacy for your school is important, not only coming from your school directly, but also the parents and communities that you're serving. And finally, once all of those steps have been taken, people really live the mission. They've expressed that they love your school, they see the value, they're engaged, they're committed, and they're going to lead more people into the exploration phase of Montessori. So it all kind of comes back. If you complete every step, and if you help guide the parent through every step, it's really all going to come back to you. And I'm sure this is something that you already experience at your school, because we hear from a lot of Montessori schools that word of mouth is huge in marketing for them. In fact, a lot of people have been successful with their Montessori schools without having to use digital marketing, because word of mouth is so effective. They're just going the extra mile and they really want to grow, so they choose to go to the digital marketing route. But it really is so important to make sure all of these bases are covered throughout the family life cycle. Next, I'm going to talk about the Montessori avatar. And avatar is another marketing term for kind of your ideal family. So every school's family is unique. Every target audience or demographic or any marketing, any product in marketing has a target of some sort. You know what your families are already, I'm sure, but it's great to kind of write it out and reassess it, because this may change over time. Generations have different values, and people always value different things. So it's great to go in and assess what are the characteristics that you're seeing in your school communities and your families already. It's important to know this because it allows you to begin with new, fresh prospective parents with the end result already in mind. So you know what the parents who have gone through your school, have gone through all the processes, already have experienced, already know and have learned, and it allows you to have that perspective in mind when you take in new prospective parents. You know exactly who you're speaking to as well. When you understand your ideal mission appropriate family, it's so much easier to use the language that they use, to understand what they're feeling, to understand their needs, and to meet those needs. It also allows you to get in a sense of alignment from everyone in your organization. As a school leader, this is important because you want all of your staff to be on the same page, assistants, everyone from top to bottom. You want them all to know what your mission is, what kind of families you're serving, what your goals are. So it's important to have all of this in mind in order for you to speak to that target family so much more effectively. All right, moving on to the next slide here. Once you have an idea of that avatar, you can really start creating, telling, and sharing your story appropriately, because ultimately marketing is just a very elaborate way of saying storytelling. You know exactly how to speak to them. You know what language to use. You know the tone that you need to use. You kind of already know what they're thinking. You've been through it before. You've seen it with your families. You know, even when you respond to them, you can kind of see their gears turning in their mind, and you know exactly what's come in their mind. You know how they're getting their information. Are they using their cell phones? Are they on their computer all day? Are they finding you through your website? It's very important to understand how they're getting their information. You understand their values. You know, every Montessori school has its own unique values. Obviously, as a Montessori school, we have a collective idea of what we want, but every school is unique, and every school has its unique selling point. And you understand how you can offer them value. You understand what you have that they can benefit with. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the ideal Montessori website. I'm going to let Camille take over here because she is a Montessori website genius. She's going to be talking about this, and we'll start with the automated tour. All right, Camille.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Camille. That was a great overview of the funnel and everything. And I just wanted to say, when you thinking about the avatar too, you can, when it comes to digital marketing, even when you're thinking about things like, what keywords do I want to have on a Google Ads campaign, you can think about maybe some other things that they might be searching for, because you understand sort of this profile, you know, for lack of a better word, of who these people are. And it also makes me think of something Mary Lou Cobb said to me once, way back when we were first starting our school. She said, I've come to realize, because Montessori is kind of out of the mainstream, let's just say. And she said, I kind of realized that parents who would consider going to a chiropractor are the kind of the same demographic of people who would consider Montessori for their children. So that's not a way you would normally think about it, but it kind of illustrates what that avatar concept is, because it's somebody who is just in that example, you know, willing to maybe step out of the mainstream a little bit, but not, completely way out. So anyway, I thought that I always remember her telling me that, and I put it to use sometimes. So anyway, okay, so let's look at the demo site. Maybe I should share my screen and show the demo site here. We're talking about tour scheduling, and I know we have talked about this a lot before, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but maybe I will share my screen and we can look at that. So this is the Nido, it's at nidosite.com. Anybody can come play around on this website. But when we talk about the ability to schedule a tour, it's just a really great way to, at this point, people are quite far down in the funnel. They're really at the engagement phase. But it's important to allow, we're at the end of the month here, but to allow prospective parents to actually take action, set an appointment. And if you give them that ability to do that online, it just kind of offloads that bottleneck of the back and forth phone calls of trying to find a time that works and all of that. This one is set up. I can show you the CRM, but I won't get into that detail here. But this one's set up to show availability for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's tied to a Google Calendar so that if you have a Friday that you've got something else planned and you've blocked it off on your Google Calendar, it's not going to show it. So my point is you're never going to get double booked here. And so you're really just presenting times that you have set aside to be available for tours. And they fill out their information. They can tell you what program they're interested in, and they can go ahead and book a tour. And then it shows up on your calendar, it shows up on their calendar, and it's just a really great way to kind of solidify that commitment that they have to come and visit the school. So it removes a lot of the we don't want to put any barriers up we want to make it as smooth as possible for them to, from the point where they're excited and they want to take action, to let them actually take action and put a date on the calendar. So that's the real power of having the online tour scheduling on your website. Now I have to, what is next on the slide? I don't know the slides. I guess I'll stop sharing and I'll let you share it. We're going to be a little back and forth here for, we'll go through this.
There we go.
Right, very clear call to action. It will allow you to book more tours, and it's always available. It's available 24/7. They're getting a reminder automatically. So this is great because you're not having to follow up. It'll remind them, and you can even set up our CRM to text them an hour before. Hey, looking forward to seeing you in an hour, and then you can automate the follow-up too. You can say, yes, they were here. And then you can have an email that you've pre-written go out and say, whatever you want to do, whatever you would normally say to a parent that has just completed a tour. So this is just a great way to sort of engage people at that point in the funnel where they're ready to engage. Okay. So yeah, best practices for this is to, like what I said, text reminders. Those are really great, especially now. Everybody's expecting that almost with any kind of thing that they've scheduled. Reminders, you can set your booking window. So again, if you want to have a day or two heads up before somebody schedules a tour, you can set it to be that. If you're willing to say, you know what, I'll take tours tomorrow. You can set it up that way, blocking out your time. You have complete control over your calendar. Another important point is when the automation is set up to send an immediate confirmation email, and you can include a link to say to cancel or to reschedule this appointment, because then it puts the power back in the to the the parent, so that if something comes up and they need to reschedule, they can just do that. And it's not a phone call back and forth and all of that. You might want to include a link to download your tuition rates and then a link to a map to your school if you're doing an in-person tour. Lead magnets. Okay. So the purpose of lead magnets are to provide something of value for the purpose of gathering contact information. And the reason why you want to gather this contact information is because you want to, and I'll probably talk about this later, but you want to be building up that email list so that you can keep sending them emails, so that you can keep reminding them about yourself. This is probably higher up in the funnel. This is more of the exploration phase, or where they're considering different options. They're not really ready to engage with you quite yet, but it does tend to push them down the funnel because you're providing valuable information. So an example of a lead magnet is something of value and something that they are willing to give their contact information in exchange for. So I think the next slide had some examples there. So tuition rates. This is going to be your most effective lead magnet. It is the one thing that parents really want to know. You know that when you take calls, it's almost the second or third question probably that many parents ask, and you can put this behind a form so that they have to give you their email address, and then you have automation set up to deliver that right to their inbox, so they're getting it right away. But now you've got their contact information and you can follow up with them. White papers are great. Is Montessori right for my child, or Montessori versus conventional? We have a whole slew of them on Montessori Thrive of these papers that make great lead magnets. Quizzes also can be effective. Just a short quiz that, a lot of people like to take these online quizzes. And again, it gives you a little bit more insight into who they are, and then you get their contact information. Webinars or videos, educational, those are also great to have on your website as a lead magnet. So all of these, again, the purpose is to start to engage with them, to start to pull them down your funnel, but also by getting their contact information, that will give you the tools to be able to engage with them further and pull them further down through the funnel. Where to place lead magnets? So really everywhere, but not overdue. And so you want them in your content. So your hero image, so hero image is that big image that's right at the top of your most websites. All of our templates have a nice, Montessori is such a photogenic thing that the pictures tell such a great story alone. But to have that call to action, that button, that schedule a tour button right there above the fold, as we say on the website, is great. Floating call to actions, those are the buttons that maybe stick around on the bottom corner of the website. Even if you scroll, it's always there. So it's, I will also say in the navigation bar at the top, on the top right, that's a common place too. So it's always there. So anywhere that anybody's on your website, it's obvious where they can go to engage. In your menu, that's what you have there. So at the end of a blog or a video, that's also a great place. In your email signature, take a look at your email signature. Do you have a call to action there, or maybe even just a link to your blog, a link to your website? Those are really great. Schedule a tour. You could put that right in your email signature too. As the next step in the process, right? So if you have on your website the admissions process, have that schedule a tour option right there in the schedule a tour step. It just makes sense. Best practices. So I believe it was HubSpot or somebody did a study where they said each additional form on, a field on a form decreases the chance of the form being submitted by 25%. So the more fields, you can, it's kind of common sense. If you're filling out a form, if you see this, all these forms about your child's first and last name and their birth date and the parents' names and their employers and all this stuff, that's not going to get somebody who's higher up in the funnel. If you're offering a lead magnet that's just a white paper, maybe just a first name and a email address is all you really need. And then you have the power to follow up with them because you've got that email address. So you want to keep the forms simple so that people are more apt to complete them. You want to deliver that value immediately. In other words, you want to have automation so that it either brings them directly to the page or delivers it directly to their inbox right away. Remind them why they made the request. So when you deliver that email, make sure you have something in there that says, thanks for your interest. This is why, we're providing this information and why you might be interested in it. Over deliver where possible. I can't stress this enough. If you provide true value in your lead magnets, then people are going to be more than willing to give you their contact information in exchange for it. And especially if they do that and you give them something that's really valuable, it's valuable information, then they're going to have even a better feeling about your school. And then always include a next step. And that next step is, what makes sense to kind of pull these perspectives further down into your admissions funnel. Nurture prospects. So once you've got this list and this prospect has engaged with you, don't just deliver that lead magnet and let it sit there. You want to, again, maybe a few days later, kind of, hey, what did you think about that paper that you downloaded? And then maybe you have an email nurture sequence that you've written once. The beauty of a CRM is that you've written them once and they're personalized. They come personalized to the prospective parents because you have their first name. You can say, hi, Camilla, I'm so glad that you're interested in our school. Let me tell you a little bit more about our Children's House classroom, or whatever it is. You need to keep nurturing them and keep them engaged so that they're more willing to reach out again in the future. Program content and blogs. Okay. So it's important. So program content, we're talking about the content that you have on your website for each of the programs that you offer. So primary, toddler, primary, elementary, whatever it is, the programs that you have. It's important to, it's important to include important points. Yeah, it's, what you want to do is make it so it is a website. So you want it to be, think about somebody looking at it on a phone. That's what I always do. So you want to have either headings or bullet points of the most important aspects of the program, so that if someone's just scanning it and scrolling, they're going to kind of get the gist of what you have to say. You can include, short paragraphs that kind of go with each of these points, but don't get overly verbose, because that will turn people won't sit, and if they're faced with this wall of text, they're not going to sit and read it. If you have more information that you want to present, that is a great opportunity to have a paper written about it, maybe with a lot of detail, because there are those parents that really just want to know every little detail about everything. Put that as a lead magnet on the program page, detailed curriculum description or whatever it might be, and provide it that way, because reading a ton of data or a ton of text on a website is not what we do. That's not really what websites, especially considering half of your parents are going to be looking at this on a phone. So use age-appropriate imagery. You know, it's kind of obvious. You don't want a 12-year-old on a toddler page. Age-specific testimonials. If you have a parent testimonial about how fantastic your program was for their toddler, put that on your toddler program page, because that's going to hit people right when they are reading about it. And it's so powerful to read about it and then have this social proof about how great the program is. Selling the future, right? So talk about how it prepares the children for the next step, whether it's the next program. That's a great thing to do on your website is, you know, after completing the Montessori primary program, they are well prepared for our elementary program, and then link it to that next program. If you have some alums of your programs that you can showcase, that's also a great way to sell the future. In other words, parents want to know, yes, if I put my child in this program, how are they going to fare in high school? How are they going to fare in college? You know, so any stories or not testimonials, but alumni stories can really help kind of allay people's fears about that. Video is also great. Photos, everything, you know, video testimonials or a short video of a child working in a classroom, you know, pictures and videos are worth 1,000 words. So those are great. So toddler content, I think we'll go through these pretty quickly. These are also on our, on the Nido site demo website, but, you know, just emphasizing again, these salient points about the different programs. So what is the important points of the toddler age, really? They're in the help me to do it myself phase. The emphasis is on the environment, explain the process of observation, and the difference between Montessori and daycare, because you might be getting parents coming on board. If you don't have an infant program, you know, this might, if this is their entry point, then you need to explain why Montessori is special. Primary, you know, the mixed age classrooms, the gift of choice. In other words, children have some choice in what they do. I'm preaching to the choir here. So these are just some points that you would want to highlight on your primary page. I saw it as it just went by. Also, really make it clear that your primary program includes that kindergarten year, because that can be confusing to some parents. Elementary, again, you know, here are some great points to include on your elementary program page. A blog. Why have a Montessori blog? So there's so many reasons for having a blog on your website. It's where parents will go for information. If you don't, if it draws people in because it feels like it's, oh, this was just posted, so they're going to want to go look there. They help you establish thought leadership, and it helps to build relationships. And by that, by building up this email list that you're doing with your lead generators, then every time you publish a blog, you can reach out again to that email list and say, hey, we just published this great blog on the importance of the kindergarten year. And, you know, engaging parents and building those relationships just really helps to establish yourself as that thought leader and bring people further down the funnel. Montessori parents love additional information because they are a hyper-educated consumer base. Manage the narrative and fight misinformation. So by continually educating parents on what Montessori truly is, then that does, I mean, publish a blog on the myths of Montessori. I think we probably have one in our library because I know we have a few. A blog is a great way to approach that. it keeps your website fresh. And that is one of my favorite things about it, because it provides a reason to do some outreach, reach out to your prospective parents and pull them back to your website, where then hopefully they'll engage further with you. Okay. So best practices. What we recommend is minimally once a month. If you can't have at least once a month regular blog article, then it's better to probably not have one at all, because it's worse to have a 6-month-old as the blog article, as your most recent blog article on your website. It just kind of says, oh, this school isn't really keeping current. So write as a person, use the first person, don't write as a school. These are personal articles. Be direct, take a stand, get to the point immediately. Write in your own tone and voice, and you aren't writing for everyone. So don't be afraid to attract and repel. And I think what Matt means by this is, I've always said when I was in admissions that I always felt like Montessori was really right for most children. It wasn't necessarily right for all parents. And what you want is, if parents can kind of counsel themselves out of your funnel, if they aren't a good fit, you don't want to be spending a whole lot of time trying to convince a parent who's really not a good fit for your school that your school is a good fit for them. So by having these blog articles out there with a lot of information, then parents, if it doesn't resonate with them, it's not going to resonate with everybody. So it's okay. That's okay. All right. Some good points about blogging. Have a good, compelling title, because that's going to draw people in. Define who's writing it. Include a call to action. Maybe it's just contact us if you want to learn more about this. Images, just make it, again, you don't want it to be this big wall of text. Charts and graphs, you kind of want to mix that in. Good different section headings to break it up, and break up, just, this is kind of good for any kind of, it's not necessarily blogs, it's just anything that's on the web in general. You want to break up a lot of the big blocks of text and make it really easy to consume or scan. Again, keep in mind that over half of your audience is going to be looking at this on a phone. So you want to make it easy for that. Okay, so if you've got this blog and you need to promote it so that people understand or people know to go read it, social posts, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, send it out to your email list. If you've got some really great blog articles that have information that are related to one of your emails that you're sending out, include a link to it from your email nurture. It becomes as the more blogs you publish, it just becomes this great knowledge base on your website for parents to kind of peruse and pick and choose what they're interested in. You can put it in paid advertising. So that's another way. Sorry, that's okay.
Technical difficulties continue.
I think we're done with blogs.
Yeah, sorry. All right. I guess then moving on to getting found online. Sorry, we're rushing through this, guys. It's a long course. Like I said, we're being really ambitious here, trying to compress it into 1 hour. So we're going to talk about getting found online, and this is something that I'm sure all of you have had to refocus your marketing in the last few years, because parents are online all the time. So let's talk about SEO. This is going to be a really, really condensed version of SEO, because SEO is really an extensive topic in digital marketing. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. You probably already know that or have heard of the term before. people are out there searching for you. They're searching for schools. People, they're not having kids. There's always an abundance out there of people who are looking for a great way to educate their child. So it's a great place to put yourself out there. Something that's important to consider with SEO, and this is something that we tell people to manage their expectations, because it's all about being slow and steady and consistent. Um, One thing that we have learned as digital marketers is that Google loves valuable content, which is exactly why we focus a lot of this discussion on your website content, your blog content, because Google really takes that into account. Google also loves continuity. SEO is not something that you want to do for a while, then stop, and then do for a while, and then stop. You really want to be consistent. Even when you think, oh, there aren't people looking for my school right now, there are. So it's important to be consistent. Use images and videos as often as possible. The type of content that you use is also taken into consideration when it comes to SEO. So having great images and having videos is going to help your SEO efforts. You want to promote your listings as well online, and you want to track. SEO is kind of a full-time job in itself, which is why a lot of Montessorians choose to go with an agency, because it can just stay on top of the task. Because really, one of the ultimate keys with SEO is looking at your progress consistently. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Google Ads. You may or may not be running Google Ads for your school. So let's give a little introduction here. Google conversion tracking is going to be your best friend, because if you're investing in Google Ads, which you're probably investing quite a bit of money, especially if you might not be the largest school, it can be a considerable investment. You want to make sure you're getting your money's worth there. A couple ways that you can track whether you're getting your money's worth is by using unique thank you pages. So what this does is basically, when a parent visits your page and they maybe register for sign up for a tour, they download a white paper or a lead magnet, have a unique page that they're led into that says, oh, thank you for downloading this. You should receive it in your email. Or thank you for signing up for a tour. What this does is this tracks the amount of people who visited this page, because we know the people that visited that page took an action on your website, and that's measurable. You can start seeing who has taken action on your page. You can start seeing if that's kind of a good return on your investment, if that number is where you want it to be. Tracking conversions in AdWords. This is going to go back into Google Analytics. So you want to make sure that what basically you're doing is you're bidding on various AdWords on Google Ads. So you want to make sure that it's worth your money. Are you actually getting clicks on those AdWords that you're investing in? Are you showing up in searches? And you can track that on Google Analytics and decide how much you actually want to spend or invest in each AdWord. Like Camille mentioned earlier in the presentation, a great place to come up with AdWords is by really knowing your ideal avatar, by understanding what they're searching, by knowing what language they use. So that's a great place to find inspiration for AdWords. Reconciling conversions and analytics. Again, when you decide to take the leap into Google Ads, you're really going to have to understand the way that Google Analytics works. That's a whole workshop in its own, and we have a workshop on that on Thrive as well, if that's something that you want to manage for your school yourself. You also want to be able to track phone call conversions. This is something that you can do on Google whenever people call you based on the number online. A lot of people are searching online, so what they'll do is when they Google your school and they want to call, they'll just click directly off the Google number, and you can track this information as well. So you can see how many of your phone calls are coming in through Google searches. And you can also record that information, record phone calls. All right, Google Ads campaign creation. Now, this is going to be a very quick summary of what that kind of looks like. So first and foremost, probably one of the most important aspects of your Google ad campaign creation is geographic targeting. Matt says, know your commute path. And this is so true, because you really need to look at your map, look at the roads, look what offices are in the area that parents might be working at, understand the geography of where your school is located, because you're not trying to market to parents who live an hour away. You're trying to market to parents who are in a reasonable distance to your school. Now, if you're a city, that might be a few blocks. If you're in the suburb, that might be a 15 or 20-minute drive. So understand what a commute path looks like. And this is going to help you appear in the right searches. You don't want to be appearing to parents in a different city. That's not really going to help you unless you're planning to move, in which case they're going to be searching in certain areas. Another thing that you want to consider when it comes to campaign creation is keyword sculpting. And we call it sculpting because when an artist creates a sculpture, it's chipping away little by little. You want to really understand the keywords that are working for you. This again comes from really understanding your target audience, understanding the language they use to communicate, and betting on the right words. Also understanding negative keywords. So keywords that aren't relevant but might be associated with your school or with early education. Site link extensions as well and ad copy creation are important. You want to make sure again that when it comes to ad copy, you are using the correct language, you're using the correct tone, and that it makes sense. So read it out loud, have your guides read it out loud, have someone in your community read it out loud. Try to think about your ads from a non-Montessori educated mind. Does it make sense? Is it concise? Is it approachable? All of these things are important to consider. So Google Ads, your landing page, just some best practices that are going to help you when it comes to your Google ad efforts. Camille mentioned this, mobile responsiveness. This is probably number one because so many parents are finding you on their smartphone nowadays. You want to maintain continuity with your ads. So if you're running ads for your school, you want to make sure that when they come on your website, it makes sense. It's the same tone, it's the same language, it's the same promises. You just want to make sure it's concise and it makes sense. So parents are like, oh, I am in the right place. Focus on your call to action. Again, you get prospective parents on your page. Now what? You really want to make sure they're directed exactly where they need to be, whether that's scheduling a tour, learning more about your programs, downloading a lead magnet, or a white page, or taking a quiz. You want to have a clear call to action front and center. Keep your information program specific. We serve children ages blank to blank. Have that as well very clear for parents. You don't want parents of 12-year-olds looking at your school if you only serve through primary. So you want to make sure that's very obvious as well. Have social proof. Again, testimonials sell. People, we have a herd mentality. We want to know what other people experience at the school so that we can envision ourselves in that position as well. Have great testimonials front and center on your landing page as well. Images and videos, like I said, Google loves content, takes content into consideration. So have that if possible on your landing page. Another thing I mentioned earlier about the thank you page, you can always use an image of a child. That also helps. Just Google loves images. That consider it a visual learner. You also want to have multiple conversion points available. Like you want to have those closed forms, open forms, a chat option maybe that pops up. Oh, do you have any questions? Click to call. All of these things are great and they help you kind of track how people behave on your page. You want to understand, what are they clicking? What's working? What's not working? The best way to assess that is to have different conversion points so you can see which ones are really working for you. Let's talk about Facebook ads as well, because this is another point in digital marketing is the social space. What you really want to grasp when it comes to Facebook ads is your lead quality. You're basically, on a platform that billions of people use. What I think they have surely Facebook has over 1 billion people now. So you want to make sure the people who are seeing your content are people of quality or value to your school. Burning your list. You need to really, again, zone in on those important people. Again, with any digital marketing, tracking is important. Facebook business page analytics helps you measure this so that you can see if your investments are worth it. We've all been in that position where we may have boosted an ad and have seen nothing. We may have spent $100 on boosting an ad or boosting a post and didn't really see anything of it. It's important to track so that we understand why it maybe didn't work. All right, let's talk about segmentation. This is a huge marketing principle. You want to understand your demographic, what interests they have, best practices to reach out to them. And this all comes back to the Montessori avatar and understanding it. You can also use Facebook ads as a place to see what content are they responding to the best. What are they clicking? What are they liking? When you share a blog, when you share a video, when you share images, it helps you to identify what your target or avatar is interested in looking at. And ultimately, your goal for Facebook ads is remarketing to your website. You want to draw people to your website because that's where all the action's happening. That's where they're scheduling tours. That's where they're downloading papers and giving out contact information. So have page-specific ads. So maybe if you know that they're a parent of a primary age child, lead them into your primary program information and have a white paper ready for them to download. Also have behavior-specific ads and cross-network marketing as well. So you want to, utilize both Google and Facebook ideally. At Nido Marketing, we believe Google is the ultimate marketing form. But if you want to go ahead and invest in Facebook ads as well, it's a great investment if you do it properly. Some frequently asked questions when it comes to Facebook ads. If I post something, will my entire community see it? Not necessarily. It depends on their rate of engagement with your page. If they go on your page, and yes, if it's a specific Facebook ad, it will not come up for every parent that follows you. It comes up to a specific targeted demographic created by you and Facebook. How much should I spend? When it comes to Facebook ads, that's really quite difficult. We never say to spend too much, but when it comes to Google ads, Matt says at least $1,000, at least $500 if you're a small school, and $1,000 if you're a school of 100 or over, is probably a fair point. And even though that may seem like a big number, in terms of tuition, that might be one tuition a month to maybe make, even if that's one more conversion, one more tuition that you get out of that, one more enrollment, it's worth it. What about Instagram? Facebook and Instagram are interconnected. So if you're running ads on Facebook, you can easily also run them on Instagram, as it is the same platform, as they're owned by the same company. When should I boost posts? If it has a conversion of any sort, if you offer a lead generator, if it's a really highly engaged post, really boosting posts is okay, but what you really want is more tailored ads. So create ads with a specific intent rather than just boosting a post about a special event at your school, unless it's an open house that kind of brings new prospective parents in. All right, I'm going to close this off as quickly as possible because we've already gone a little bit over. Thank you guys for bearing with us. Reputation management, which is another major point of Montessori marketing. This is kind of, you work so hard to reach out to new parents, to grow as a school. You want to maintain a good reputation in your community and beyond. What is reputation management? First of all, social proof. We know for a fact that people are checking reviews. That's why every company is always sending out offers to get testimonials from clients or customers. It's the single most important factor in online marketing. It's a digital currency. Like I said, people have a herd mentality. They want to know what other people experienced in your school. Online reviews, have them on your website. Have them on review sites. be available on Yelp, be available on Facebook, community platforms as well, groups. Try to find as many online platforms to get a good online review. Directories and citations, you need to know, need to be where you're expected, trim your hedges. This is all part of important reputation management. All right, where to cultivate online reviews. Number one, your website, and number two, Google. Because when people are searching, it comes up with a picture of your school, your phone number, your website, a map, and then it's straight into reviews. And people love to skim that. They want to see what other people have experienced. I can guarantee you that most prospective parents are looking at reviews. If you are looking at reviews to go just to figure out a place to eat for dinner, they're definitely looking at reviews as to where they're going to commit to send their child. So make sure you have some visible, good reviews. So how to cultivate social proof. Have a reoccurring system in place. Have a way, a system of operations to ask parents that are experiencing your school to report it. Incentivizing for reviews as well is great. Offering something of value for parents who want to leave a review, not bribing them, but just saying, it really helps us. Be specific in your requests as well. Let say, I want a parent to give a review of our toddler program specifically. Reach out to that parent and say, it's really been wonderful having you as part of our toddler parent community. We'd love to hear your experience about what your toddler experienced, and we love more reviews about what our toddler program has to offer so that other parents can join in on our community as well. Could you write a request based on your a review based on your experience? Be specific in asking for those questions, and especially if you're starting out to receive reviews, it's not bad to be specific in asking. And ask for feedback as part of other processes. Explain why it's important to your school, explain why it's valuable, and kind of figure out ways that you can integrate it into other engagement aspects of your school. All right. Dealing with negative reviews. Hopefully you guys don't have to deal with any of them, but we all have, I don't want to say we all have, hopefully none of us have had, but some people have had, parents who may have been vindictive and want to leave really negative reviews just for the sake of tarnishing your reputation as a school. If you have this on Google, what you want to do is always leave a response, and leave it as quickly as possible. It's going to look bad if you just leave a bad review there with no response. Be apologetic. I'm sorry that that's your experience with our school. We always try to lead into your mission. Our mission here is to make sure that whatever your mission is, and then try to be as empathetic as possible in your review. Obviously, you're not going to fix the problem. They might take down their review if your response is good enough. If not, at least people are seeing that you have made an effort to understand and to validate that they had a bad experience, to understand why. It's also an opportunity to learn what went wrong. What did we manage wrong? That's the upside of bad reviews. It allows you to reassess how you're dealing with things. Maybe it's completely out of your hands and it's just a really bad apple that you had to deal with, but it allows you to assess and learn.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say the best defense against a bad review is to have a lot of good reviews already kind of banked so that, if you have a bunch of 5-star reviews and a 1-star review comes in, it's just going to be a blip, and other people when looking at it will just see it as, it's maybe just an anomaly. So that comes back to the importance of having a system in place for gathering up positive reviews.
Especially if it's a very vindictive kind of language where they're very angry, and you can tell that just the people that see that in comparison to all the good reviews, it's really going to be, it's 1 out of 30. It doesn't really make a lot of a huge impact. How to use social proof. Every page of your website. Put testimonials everywhere, on your program pages, on your landing page, everywhere. Put testimonials, whether they're videos, alumni stories, parent experiences. Use that to your advantage. Postcards and mailers, if you use that. If you're a paperless school, no worries. Newsletters as well. Share your experiences with newsletters. If you had a great alumni story to tell, if one of your students got an internship program somewhere or something like that, it's great information to send in your newsletters, Email nurture campaigns. So once you've gathered that contact information from lead magnets and you're sending out those initial nurture emails, add in testimonials there as well. During the admissions process, talk about it. Using testimonials to your advantage is hugely helpful. And in videos and other media, use, have an alumni testimonial video or a parent testimonial video. That's great to have as well. If you want to dive deeper into the Montessori Marketing Method, please take the course. It's on Montessori Thrive under courses. Like I said, it takes around 3 to 4 hours to complete, but it's really worth it. Everything is inspected so much more in detail than we could cover in just over an hour. We have our full course here. Well, I'll upload this presentation slide to the collection as well, so you could be directed to it from here if you'd like. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or just email us as well. We also have our forum where you can ask questions about Montessori marketing, our Facebook group. Also, I want to say for any of you guys who joined in on our series, we concluded our last. We have already posted a.
Camilla, I can't hear you.
Oh, really? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We have just concluded our last parenting series last night. So the recordings are available on a PDF on Montessori Thrive that you can email to your parents so they can view all 4 sessions. They were great and really helpful. So hopefully your parent community took some value from that, and we're planning our next one for after winter break. I don't know if anyone has any questions. There was a lot of information for, and then we've gone over time, so I don't want to take too much of your time if you guys, I'm sure you guys have very busy days. Thank you from Camilo. All right. We hope to see you at our next town hall. We're going to be joined by Lorena Seidel. She's going to be talking about how you can utilize parent education to create families who really live your mission at your school. She's a great speaker, and she's also a Montessori School consultant. She'll be taking your questions next week and sharing her wisdom with you all. So we hope to see you guys there as well. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody, I know we glossed over a ton of information, so any questions, just email us or whatever, reach out any way you want, and we'll be happy to go into more detail or answer any questions. So thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your Thursday.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Bye.